Hello everyone, Lesson 9, Unit 10, complex fractions, a little extension of the previous lesson. What happens here is we need to make the complex fraction into a fraction that we're used to seeing with just a numerator and denominator, whether it's a monomial or a polynomial. What you want to do is you want to find the least common denominator of all the minor fractions. So they call these minor fractions. And you want to find the least common denominator of all three, because there's 1, 2, 3 of them. So you want to find the least common denominator of 9, 18, and 3. So multiples of 9, multiples of 18, multiples of 3. So the least common denominator is 18. Once you get that denominator, you need to multiply everything by that least common denominator. So that way you cancel denominators and you are left with a fraction that you're used to seeing. So the 9 goes into itself once, into 18 twice. 18 goes into itself and into 18 once, so it's left with 2 plus 1. 3 goes into 18 6 times, so that 3 cancels, you're left with a 6. So very easy to introduce, but of course it's going to get more difficult. So it's 3 over 6. We will talk more about this part C as we continue on with the lesson. There's essentially using just the LCD. There's other methods, but I'm just sticking with the LCD. Okay. So when I look at exercise 2A, LCD. Okay, what's my LCD of 2, 10, and 5? It is 10. Multiply everything by 10. And I have 2 goes into 10 5 times, minus 1, because 10 goes into itself once. 5 goes into itself once and into 10 twice. So that is a 4. So I have 5 minus 1, which is 4, over 4, which is 1. Part B, you have all of your minor fractions. You have 3x, 3x. So my LCD is 3x. Multiply everything by 3x. 3 cancels with the 3, you're left with an x. Therefore, you have a 2x. Plus, the x cancels with x, you have 3 times 2, which is 6. 3 cancels with the 3, you're left with an x, 5x. The x cancels with the x, you're left with a 3, 5x plus 15. All right? If you need to see that again, just rewind it and play it again. Now, you want to try to factor and cancel like we did in the previous lesson, if you can. So these again, polynomials go in parentheses. I'm going to take out a 2, I have an x plus 3. I take out a 5, and I have an x plus 3. X plus 3's cancel. So you are merely left with 2 over 5. Last one, we're still only talking about monomials in the denominator. My LCD, we have 8, 4x, 2x, and 4. So we have to have an 8, because there's your 2, 4, 8, and you have to have the x represented. So multiply everything by an 8x. 8 cancels with the 8, you have a 3x. 4x cancels with the 8x, you're left with a 2. The 2x cancels with the 8x, you have a 4. So 4 times 7 is 28 plus. 4 cancels with the 8x, you have a 2x. 28 plus 6x. So you want to put these in descending order, 3x plus 2, and then we have a 6x plus 28. Now, you can factor out a 2 from there, and you'll have a 2 and then a 3x. Oops, I'm off of your screen here. So it's a 2 with a 3x plus 14. But since, get me out of the way, since these will not cancel, we would accept either 3x plus 2 over 6x plus 28, or 3x plus 2 all over 2 times 3x plus 14. Either answer is acceptable. Of course, if it's a part 1, you have to make it look like they're part 1. Next examples, little more complicated with the still a monomial, but you have the variables, maybe higher powers. So my LCD of the minor fractions, you have a 2x squared, 2x, and x squared. So the leading coefficient is your 2. Then the x's. The most I have is x squared, so I have to have x squared. Multiply everything by 2x squared. Remember, your goal is to get rid of the multiple fractions. You just want to make a single fraction that you're used to seeing. So 2 goes into itself once, and into the 2x squared, you're left with an x squared. So I have an x squared. Oh yeah, and watch out for the subtraction. X squared goes into the x squared, you're left with a 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2x cancels with the 2x squared, you're left with an x. 3x minus x squared cancels with the x squared, you're left with a 2. Minus 6. Parentheses, parentheses. Try to factor where applicable. So x plus 2, x minus 2, difference of 2 squares. Take out a 3, you have an x minus 2. And then the x minus 2's cancel. You are left with the x plus 2 over 3. Again, slow it down, rewind it, whatever you need to do. LCD in letter B. You got the 5x squared. Hopefully you're getting the gist of it. Okay? So everything is multiplied by the 5x squared. 5 cancels with that, you're left with an x squared, 2x squared. X cancels with an x, you have a 5x. So 2x squared minus 10x. All over. 5x cancels, you're left with an x. X minus. X squared cancels, you're left with a 5. Okay? You might be able to anticipate, ooh, I can cancel something, factor things. So we're going to take out a 2x over x minus 5. And then this is just x minus 5. X minus 5's cancel. You are just left with 2x. Usually everything cancels, or most everything cancels, but not always. All right, now, many minor fractions. Same process, though. Look at the leading coefficients, or all the coefficients. What do we have? We have 12. That's the highest, or the least common multiple of all of them. And then there's an x, too. Don't lose the x. So we're multiplying everything by an x, a 12x. So 12 cancels, you're left with an x. We have an x squared. 6 cancels, you're left with a 2x. So we have x squared plus 2x. The x cancel, you're left with a 12, so it's minus 24. And then the denominator, the 12 cancels, you are left with an x squared. The 3x cancels, you are left with a 4, so it's x squared minus, oh, that's going to be a 16. Okay? And now we have factoring. Okay, you're factoring. So 2 sets of parentheses, factors of 24 that give me 2 are 6 and 4. This is positive, therefore I need a positive 6 and a negative 4 because I need that to be negative. Okay? And then this is a difference of 2 squares, perfect square, x, 4, 4, plus, minus. Cancel, cancel. You are left with x plus 6 over x plus 4. Okay, I hope everyone's feeling good about themselves. You're getting the gist of it. And now we'll make it more challenging. So instead of having a monomial in the denominator, we have polynomials. So you can see here that we have x plus 2, the x minus 4, and then the x squared minus 2x minus 8. This first one, x plus 2, will not factor. X minus 4 will not factor. But x squared minus 2x minus 8 will factor. It factors 2, x and x. Factors of 8 that give me 2 are 4 and 2. Tells me they have to be opposite signs. This is negative 4 or minus 4 and plus 2. That's how it factors. Okay? So your LCD is going to be x plus 2, x minus 4. And just make sure everything's accounted for. X plus 2, x minus 4, x minus 4, x plus 2. All accounted for. So you multiply everything by the LCD. So when I multiply the first one, the x plus 2's cancel. I'm left with an x minus 4. 4x minus 4 plus 2, because that's right here. X minus 4 cancels with the x minus 4. I have a 2 times x plus 2. The x minus 4 cancels. The x plus 2 cancels. So that's all gone. This is all over 12x minus 24. Distribute. We have 4x minus 16 plus 2x plus 4 all over your 12x minus 24. And then you combine this. We have 6x minus 12 all over 12x minus 24. Keep going. Parentheses. Oops. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Parentheses. Oh well. 6x minus 2. 12x minus 2. Cancel, 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 cancel. 1/2. Don't lose that 1 in the numerator. It is not 2, but it is 1/2. I don't know what's happening. Oh no, am I still recording? I lost myself. Alright, hopefully I'm still recording. Craziness. Alright, I just lost the time. I don't know how to tell how much time is left. So, we have all of these denominators. So, this one will factor, because x plus 6, x plus 2 does not. This will factor to x and x. Everything's plus. Factors of 12 that give you 8, 6, and 2. So my LCD is x plus 6, x plus 2. Everything needs to be multiplied by the LCD. X plus 6 cancels. I have an x, x plus 2. Minus 1. X plus 2 cancels. I have an x plus 6. All over the x plus 6 cancels. The x plus 2 cancels. All over x squared minus 4. Right? Difference of 2 squares there. These things should be jumping out at you. Oh, there it is. Got it back. So now I have x squared plus 2x. Don't forget to distribute that negative to both terms. Minus x minus 6 all over x squared minus 4. Keep going. You want to combine that numerator. Get out of the way. So we have x squared plus x minus 6 all over x squared minus 4. I only got to keep writing it down. On the Regents exam, you only have probably one of these to do. So then it factors to x and x. Factors of negative 6 that give you a 1 are positive 3 and negative 2. X squared minus 4 is a difference of 2 squares. So I have an x and x, 2 and 2, plus and minus. Because then the x minus 2's will cancel. You have x plus 3 over x minus 2. And I have a minute to spare. Okay, so rewind anything, pause anything, bring questions to class, whatever you need. It's a little tricky, but if you show your steps, you should be okay. Have a good night.